Salty was at the bottom of the hill. He was waiting for a signal. He didn't know Thomas was coming down the hill. Thomas was out of control. Thomas braked as hard as he could. But the freight cars of fish were too heavy. "Oops," said Thomas. "Sorry." Salty was covered in fish. "Never mind me, Artie," said Salty. "The smell reminds me of the sea." Thomas's driver telephoned for help. And soon Harvey was clearing the tracks. Thomas wondered what Sir Topham Hatt would say. He found out soon enough. "You have caused confusion and delay," said Sir Topham Hatt. "You must learn to be more safe." "Yes, sir. Sorry, sir," Thomas puffed sadly. So this time, Thomas shunted only 5 freight cars together. He took a deep breath, and he chuffed away. Thomas puffed through the countryside. "I will get to the docks on time," he cried. But the troublesome trucks were up to their old tricks. "Hold back!" they giggled. But this time there were only 5 trucks. Thomas biffed and bashed and bumped them. And the trucks weren't troublesome anymore. As soon as he delivered the first freight cars, Thomas went back to collect the next 5. His coupling smelled of kippers, and his cabin smelled of cod. But he was working so hard, he forgot all about the smell. At last, he had just one more load to take. But it was nearly time for the ship to leave. Thomas raced as fast as he could. His axles ached and his buffers were bashed, but he got to the docks just in time. Thomas was very happy to say goodbye to the fish. Then Sir Topham Hatt came to see Thomas. "I know you don't like the smell of fish, but you have worked very hard," Sir Topham Hatt said. "You really are a useful engine." Thomas was proud. But he still had the smell of fish in his funnel, and he couldn't wait to be clean. So he puffed off to the washdown. Arthur and Salty were already there. "Getting clean is lovely," puffed Arthur. "Best part of the day," said Salty. "Especially when you smell of fish," said Thomas. Here are some dots. If we join the dots, we will see one of the engines on Sir Topham Hatt's railway. I wonder which engine it is. Let's join the dots and find out. Here we go. There's a tender at the back, and there's the cab, and the dome, the funnel. Can you tell who it is yet? This engine's got 1, 2, 3, 4 wheels and 1 wheel arch just in front of the cab. Do you know who it is? It's Edward. Hello, Edward. Thomas loves feeling like a really useful engine. But sometimes being really useful is hard work. In wintertime, snow can fall onto the railway lines. Sometimes snow can stop Thomas in his tracks. Then Thomas has to wear his snowplow so he can finish his job on time. Sometimes the weather is foggy and it is hard for Thomas to see. So Thomas's driver lights his lamp, and Thomas puffs slowly and carefully. He blows his whistle to warn everyone he's coming. It's hard work, but Thomas always does his best. Thomas has other hard jobs to do. Often he has to pull freight cars full of slate and coal. It's very tiring pulling them uphill. And when Thomas goes down the other side, the heavy freight cars make it hard to slow down. So Thomas has to put his brakes on all the way down. But even when the work is hard, Thomas always tries his best and gets the job done. Thomas is a really useful engine. Rheneas and Skarloey work on the most beautiful line on the island of Sodor. They love to puff through the forests and over the rivers. An old bridge crosses one of the rivers. Some of its beams were rotten and had now been damaged by the storm. Skarloey chuffed happily along. He didn't see the broken rail until it was too late. He dangled dangerously above the water. Help! But Rheneas soon pulled him to safety. A few days later, Sir Topham Hatt came to the sheds. The old bridge has been mended, but the workers' freight cars have been left there. Skarloey, I need you to collect them. Yes, sir, chuffed Skarloey. He didn't want to go on the bridge again. When Skarloey arrived, he saw the freight cars on the other side. He started to cross, but stopped. He looked down into the rushing water. Skarloey was scared. He remembered what had happened before. Come on, Skarloey, called his driver. The bridge is safe now. But Skarloey wouldn't cross the bridge. And he and his driver went home instead.
We'll pick up the freight cars, said Rheneas' driver. But if you don't cross the bridge soon, said Rheneas, Sir Topham Hatt will be cross.
Now Rheneas had to take Skarloey's loads as well as his own. Each morning he collected the freight cars and puffed across the bridge with his heavy load. Finally, Sir Topham Hatt came to see Skarloey.